In a smoky corner of the intergalactic dive bar, a group of aliens huddled around a table, their drinks glowing in all shades of neon. Zorblax, a leathery-skinned creature with 6 eyes and a knack for storytelling, was regaling them with tales from his travels. All right, listen up. Zorblax tapped the table with one of his suction-cupped fingers to quiet the group. You've heard of Earth, right? The table went silent. A few of the aliens glanced nervously at each other. Earth? Murmured Blarg, a gelatinous blob with tentacles. You mean the Death Planet? The one the Galactic Council won't let us visit? Exactly that one, Zorblax grinned, baring his sharp, luminescent teeth. You think the stories are bad? Trust me, they understate the danger. Earth is the most insane planet I've ever visited, and the inhabitants, oh ho. The humans are like those tiny furry creatures that explode when you poke them, except dumber and with nuclear weapons. The aliens shuddered. Start from the beginning, Zorblax, croaked Zilton, a lizard-like being with a raspy voice. What makes Earth so dangerous? Zorblax leaned forward, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Okay, first of all, the entire planet is out to kill you. It's got oceans that pull you under, forests where the trees just drop things on your head for fun, and creatures, get this, that live inside the water, waiting to bite you if you so much as stick a toe in. No way, shrieked Glip, a tiny insectoid alien with large, twitching antennae. I'm serious. Humans call them sharks. They're like flying death machines, only they swim, and they've got rows of teeth. It's a nightmare, but that's not even the worst part. What's worse than an ocean full of teeth? Blarg's tentacles wobbled with anxiety. Zorblax grinned, leaning back in his seat. The humans. I'm telling you, these creatures make no sense. They can't breathe underwater, they don't have claws, and they don't have fangs. You'd think they'd be easy to avoid, right? The group nodded. Wrong. They're the most dangerous things on the planet. Somehow, without any natural weapons, they've figured out how to control everything. They can fly through the air, dive to the bottom of their oceans, and even launch themselves into space. That doesn't sound too bad, Glip said, buzzing nervously. Oh, I haven't even gotten to the terrifying part yet. Zorblax's eyes gleamed. You know how most species, when confronted with something dangerous, either fight it or run away? Humans, get this, they film it. The aliens gasped. Wait, Jilton interrupted. So you're telling me they see a deadly creature, and instead of escaping or defending themselves, they stand there and record it? Exactly. Zorblax threw up his hands. There was this one human, right? I saw him approach one of these massive reptiles. Crocodiles, they're called. A walking mouth with legs. You'd think he'd run away? Nope, he just got closer, talking to a floating rectangle and smiling while the thing tried to bite his head off. Shilton's scales paled. What kind of death wish is that? They don't stop there either, Zorblax continued. They've got places on the planet where the ground shakes and lava explodes out of mountains. Humans call them volcanoes. Now, any sensible species would avoid that. But humans? They walk right up to the edge, holding their little recording devices, grinning from ear to ear. It's like they enjoy playing with fire, quite literally. The group was now wide-eyed, transfixed by the insanity. And their weather, Zorblax exclaimed, throwing up his tentacles for emphasis. You think a storm would make them hide? Nope. They've got these giant spinning clouds of destruction. Tornadoes, they call them. And instead of escaping, some of them actually chase the storms. They drive directly into the danger, laughing and calling it a good time. Madness, Blarg gurgled, his gooey form jiggling in disbelief. Oh, it gets better. Zorblax grinned even wider. Humans have invented ways to blow each other up from across the planet. They've got these things called nuclear weapons, which are basically like setting off a miniature star on your planet. But instead of being terrified of their own creations, they spend most of their time arguing over who should get to have the biggest one. It's like giving a child a laser cannon and seeing what happens. The group collectively winced. Who even lives like that? Glip buzzed. Don't they realize they're sitting on a death trap? They know, Zorblax said, taking a long sip from his glowing drink. They just don't care. These humans have this saying, YOLO. It stands for you only live once. They basically admit they've got a short lifespan and then proceed to do the dumbest, most dangerous things possible during it. Blarg slumped over, his tentacles sagging. I don't understand how they've survived this long. Well, here's the kicker, Zorblack said, chuckling darkly. They've gotten so good at surviving their own stupidity, they're starting to look beyond Earth. That's right. Now they want to visit other planets. They're poking around in space, sending probes, looking for new places to colonize. The table went silent. Everyone stared at Zorblax, horrified. You mean they might come here? Glip's wings buzzed anxiously. Could be, Zorblax shrugged, which is why the Galactic Council put them on the do not visit list. No one's allowed to go to Earth anymore, and for good reason. One wrong move, and they'll figure out how to turn a pebble into a planet-destroying weapon. But hey, if you're feeling brave, you could always drop by and see for yourself. The entire table shuddered as one. Pass, Shilton croaked. I'd rather swim with the space eels. Zorblax laughed, raising his glass. Wise choice. Here's to avoiding Earth, the deadliest planet in the galaxy with the most reckless inhabitants. They clinked their glasses together, each one silently grateful that the humans were still a distant, terrifying mystery, at least for now. But they didn't have time to finish their conversation when the door of the bar opened and a human walked in. The bar went dead silent. Every alien stopped what they were doing to stare at the odd, fleshy being who had just strolled in like it was the most normal thing in the galaxy. The human, dressed in some kind of blue fabric and wearing a shirt that said, "Keep calm and drink on," blinked a few times, clearly unfazed by the crowd of bug-eyed, tentacled, and multi-limbed aliens gaping at him. Zorblax's jaw dropped, and he dropped his drink. No freaking way! The human strolled up to the bar, glanced at the glowing menu above, and casually said, Yeah, could I get a beer? Or, I don't know, whatever's local. Surprise me. The bartender, a massive creature with 6 arms and a head shaped like an eggplant, just stared at him, dumbfounded. Did he just order a drink? Whispered Blarg, his gelatinous body quivering in shock. Zorblax leaned over the table, his voice hushed. It's gotta be some kind of hallucination. Maybe I'm still drunk from last night. No human would voluntarily come in here. But the human was real. He casually sat down on a stool, glancing around as if he'd walked into his local dive bar back on Earth. The bartender nervously poured him something green and bubbling into a cup. The human lifted it to his lips and took a big swig. Everyone gasped. Holy, this stuff's strong, the human sputtered, shaking his head like a dog shaking off water. Tastes like someone mixed whiskey with battery acid and a hint of lime. Love it. Give me another. The bar was in chaos. Aliens whispered and gossiped, eyes glued to this bizarre scene. Some were convinced they were witnessing the most dangerous creature in the galaxy in action. I heard they can drink toxins and survive, hissed Glip, buzzing nervously from his seat. I once read that they have a sport where they throw themselves off cliffs on purpose, added Blorg, eyes wide with fear. Zorblax had had enough. He stood up, all 6 of his eyes narrowing as he marched over to the human. He wasn't going to just sit there and let this earth creature act like he belonged. Hey! Zorblax growled, planting one of his tentacles on the bar next to the human. What do you think you're doing here? The human looked at him, utterly unfazed. Oh hey, what's up, man? Just grabbing a drink. This place is awesome. You guys got karaoke or something? Karaoke? Zorblax blinked. You're not scared? Of us? The human squinted at him, clearly confused. Scared? Dude, have you ever been to an Earth dive bar on a Saturday night? You see a dude with 2 mullets wrestling a gator in the parking lot, and that's when you get scared. This is chill, man. I dig the whole vibe. Zorblax recoiled slightly, not quite sure how to respond. But we're aliens. Yeah? The human chuckled, raising his glass in a mock toast. Well, so am I now, I guess. Guess I'm the weird one here, huh? A few of the aliens gasped, others whispered to each other. What is this thing? Zorblax muttered under his breath. It's like it's completely immune to danger. The human tapped the stool next to him. Come on, sit down. You guys don't look so different from Earth after a few drinks anyway. Bet you got some killer stories. Zorblax hesitated but sat down cautiously. You don't understand, do you? This bar is filled with some of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. You shouldn't even be alive right now. I told these guys last night that humans are reckless, dangerous, and borderline suicidal. The human grinned and downed the rest of his drink. Sounds about right. We call it weekends. But don't worry, I'm not looking for trouble. I'm just here for the drinks. Maybe hit up an intergalactic pub crawl, you know? Pub crawl? Zorblax asked, completely dumbfounded. Yeah, man, you hit up different bars, try weird drinks, maybe eat some questionable food, see where the night takes you. You're doing that? Here? Why not? The human winked. Heard the galaxy's got some crazy nightlife. Zorblax blinked. He looked over at the bartender, who was still too stunned to move, then back at the human. This thing had walked into a bar filled with creatures who could tear him limb from limb without a second thought, and he was talking about pub crawls like this was some sort of interstellar vacation. You've got guts, I'll give you that, Zorblax muttered. But what makes you think you'll survive the night? This place isn't like Earth. The human laughed and clapped Zorblax on the back, nearly knocking the alien off his seat. Buddy, you'd be surprised what we humans can survive. I once ate a gas station burrito at 3 a.m. and lived to tell the tale. This, he gestured around the bar, this is nothing. At that moment, Blarg slid over, wobbling nervously. Human? You realize that drink you just had could dissolve a Throxian's tentacles, right? Pfft, the human waved him off. We've got worse stuff on Earth. Ever hear of something called moonshine? Burns are going down, but you don't mind after the first few sips. Got any of that here? Blarg just gurgled in disbelief and slunk back to his seat, overwhelmed by the sheer recklessness of this human. Zorblax shook his head, chuckling despite himself. You're either the bravest or dumbest creature I've ever met. The human grinned, raising his glass as the bartender cautiously refilled it. I'll take that as a compliment. Here's to intergalactic friendships. He lifted his glass high, toasting the room full of wide-eyed aliens. And slowly, one by one, they lifted their glasses too. Still not quite sure what to make of the human, but unwilling to risk angering the craziest species they'd ever met.